Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Masters of the Forge. My name is Snorre, and with me is...
Adam is here. Hi, Snorri.
Hey, it's been something of a busy week, or two, actually.
Or two.
So, should we just hop right into it, or should we just mention that today's episode is about Mantis Warriors?
Oh,
yeah, let's do that first.
You already did that. You just did it.
Haha.
Congratulations.
Yes, it's those sneaky bastards of the Space Marines.
Yeah, they're even sneakier than the Raven Guard. They're like super sneaky.
Yeah, but their standing with the Imperium is probably not really that great anymore, considering they did some bad stuff, and we'll get to that eventually. But first, Adam, have you been busy lately?
No. I mean, yes. I've been very busy. So busy. Like, I've been really busy at work, and I've been, trying to spend more time with Wendy and stuff like that. But I also have had a lot of projects going on. I worked on a bunch of my dorks. So I got my Juggerlord all sculpted up. So he's got... So basically I took Assault on Blackreach Warboss, plastic hearted him up, made him look like he has power armor. And I've sculpted from scratch a very large sow mount, pig, like a big boar, female boar mount for him to ride into battle. I have some hobby chain leading down to the ring in her nose. She's rearing up. He's looking pretty awesome. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, man, I've been playing with this character in a couple of games, and the Corn Lord on Juggernaut is a monster.
I like it.
He's an absolute monster. He is unreal, especially when you put him in with some flesh hounds. It is ridiculous. He is a beast.
So you've now found a way to play orcs in a way that you don't actually play orcs, but you're still playing orcs and you're stomping face.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So I love that guy. I built some Possessed because you need Possessed to take one of the formations, and I wanna be able to take a competitive formation with this list if I need to. And so I basically took some knobs that I had, some Blackreach knobs, plastic hearted them up. A buddy gave me some chaos bits to give them some mutations and to give them power armory backpacks. And those guys are looking pretty good. Those guys are finished as far as building is concerned.
Nice.
Yeah, they're really cool. I also have some old orc bikes I got from a trade a while back, and those are the toughest ones. Those are really tough because I'm not sure. They need to have a very power armory feel to them, and I think I pulled it off. Again, my buddies got so much chaos. I took a bunch of his chaosy backpacks, put them on. Gave them some, the Chaos Space Marine shoulder pads. I put those on them, except I reversed them. If you see the pictures, I'll post them up on Facebook. You'll see that, instead of the narrow side up, they're horizontal. So and I also put some pads on their knees and stuff. And they all have helmets, so I'm hoping that they look pretty good. I also took the zap gun bits I have. I have 6 old metal zap gun bits, and I clipped off their orc guns on the side of the bikes, and I replaced them with these zap guns, and I'm going to paint them all glowy like plasma. Hopefully it'll be very clear that those are Chaos Bikers with plasma guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, Tuska. I was at first going to do Tuska as the Bloodthirster, and I've chosen to go a different direction. Instead, he's just going to be a regular Corn Demon Prince. The reason for this is I think I want to have Tuska himself on the field often, and I'm not sure how often I'm going to get that Bloodthirster on the field. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to want to pay the points for it. Second of all, I think it's kind of hard to summon forth a Bloodthirster when you really should be spending your points on keeping your army alive and creating scoring units and stuff like that. So, I think when I do buy my Bloodthirster, I'm going to run it as the Blood Prince that was kind of like the ruler of the Blood World that Tuska and his men, and his orcs came to. So it'll just be a proper Bloodthirster rather than an orky Bloodthirster. So he'll just represent the supreme commander of that Blood World, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you thought about using cyborgs for your bikers? Or is it just like unreasonably expensive or something?
Yeah, they're expensive. And the scale to the so I'm using mounted. So what I'm using for the Flesh Hounds are fantasy boar riders with some green stuff, patching up the areas where the riders are meant to be glued. And the cyborgs, the old cyborgs, are very difficult. They're way different when it comes to scale and design. And I was not really all that interested in doing more cyborg conversions. I've already got 10 knob bikers that are cyborg riders, and I mean, I did actually consider, now that you talk about it, I did consider actually usurping some of those models to use in this list, but I chose not to. I chose to just leave them as knob bikers.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of these things, this is a big counts as army, and there's a lot of things that I'm attempting to retain as far as Chaos Space Marines are concerned, just to reduce confusion. Like, I really want to, as with anybody who does a big counts as army, it's really important to keep your opponent in mind when you're building it, and make sure that they can easily tell what things are. And for this army, I think some of the things I'm doing have to stay in that realm of believability. Like I am using possessed parts on my possessed orcs. I'm going to be putting 3 rhinos into the list. I like I talked about before, I've got 3 rhinos, and those are just going to be built like normal rhinos with some orky bits on them. And I also have a Helldrake. My buddy Pat sold me one of his Helldrake. He hates the Helldrake, so he sold me his Helldrake, and I'm not really going to do a lot with it. I'm just going to put some of the boar riders on it, holding some chain and kind of controlling the Helldrake as if they had kind of taken control of that Helldrake, rather than coming up with a custom Helldrake option.
Nice.
Yeah, I think going in that direction will, kind of skirt that fine line between what is appropriate counts as and what is not, especially considering all the work I'm putting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
speaking of counts as, I saw there was a interesting discussion on Facebook about the whole. What would you do if you saw someone playing, or if someone tries to play Chaos Space Marines against you, and they're using the latest Space Marine Codex because, well, the Space Marine Codex is so much better than the Chaos one. Mm-hmm. It became quite an interesting discussion. Most people seem to be sort of okay with it in a competitive scene, but when it comes to if this is supposed to be a friendly game, you just don't do that. Yeah. My only input to there was that if you want to play Chaos Renegades, then if you want to use the Astra Militarum book, then that's fine with me. Even though there's technically an Imperial Armor book, yeah, I'm not going to force people to, oh, there's a book for that.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think that's always been our position, right?
Yeah.
They're your toy soldiers. You have fun with them how you want, as long as, again, you keep your opponent in mind. Like Pat, my buddy Pat, the one I've been talking about all throughout the episode so far, who's been kind of working with me on this. He has a Chaos Army, Chaos Space Marines army. He loves the aesthetic. And not only does he love the aesthetic, he loves the old aesthetic. He loves the like metal, the dark metal version of Chaos. So he loves the old bikers, the old noise marines, the old all that stuff, right? And he hasn't really played much for months because it hasn't really been that fun for him. And he hates the Chaos Space Marine Codex. It's not necessarily because it's not powerful. He just doesn't think it truly represents what he sees in his mind when it comes to Chaos.
Yeah.
And, he's been actually interested in the game recently because he happened to just get the idea to go ahead and try Astra Militarum bike list using all of his Chaos bikes. And he's all excited about the game again. And he's spent the last 2 days this weekend with me. We've been swimming and assembling models together, and he's all excited about his new bike army. So, well, new as in new to him right now, because he's always loved the Chaos Bikers. He's got a ton of the old ones, and he's got this awesome, like, Master of the Forge with conversion beamer that he's doing up as, like, an obliterator on a bike, like a crazy obliterator cult biker.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's all Nurgle themed. Like, his army, he loves Nurgle, right? So it's all Nurgle themed. So he's going with the Iron Hands chapter tactics, which
yeah,
right.
Just, feel no pain. So yeah.
So I really would hope that folks would have an open mind about this sort of thing, because having lots of options and rules that represent what you see in your brain, those are all important things. And if it gets people interested in the game and keeps the game healthy and vibrant, who cares? As long as you are, as you keep your opponent in mind, which he is doing, both he and I are doing with our counts as armies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've also been working on the league. I have a league going at the store. Basically, it's called the Freedom League because America. So none of the Bay Area open nerfs, no restrictions. You can even play Unbound if you want. The only thing is, if you play a Battleforged army, you're allowed to go into games 500 points under, and after you see your opponent, you're allowed to add 500 points to it. So you can basically have a freeform sideboard depending on who you play against, which
interesting.
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to try. So I've also got several games of Killzone in with Jason, with our sound doctor, Dr. Sound Jason. And it's been a lot of fun. We've taken a whole lot of notes. We had one game where I ran my Mega Knobs as a themed list. So all the models in my Killzone list were 2+ armor, and Jason won that hands down. I kind of pushed forward to get my secondaries. One of them was basically to assault and kill his Melta Gunner, and they just tore me up. I definitely lost that game by quite a bit, which, shows that having that theme didn't really affect it at all. Another game I had a couple nights ago, we were trying out a new theme that we were thinking about, which was monstrous creatures for the purposes of, Tyranids and other lists. And he actually brought his Dread Knight, which is a very nasty model when you think about it, and it was way over.
Oh, yeah.
It was way overpowered for for kill zone. So that's not to say we're gonna abandon the idea of putting in a monstrous creature theme list, but I think we're still gonna cap the number of points per model somewhere around 120, 150. That way you can still do like a fun Carnifex list or something like that, but nothing with a huge points value that's going to be impossible to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little nuts. Then we played a regular game. I just brought some orcs. He brought some Space Marines, and it was an extremely kind of balanced play. I think Jason forgot a little bit about the idea that if you hold the primary objective for a turn, you win the game. So I grabbed an objective and pulled it into my deployment zone, and then and then some of my orcs kind of tied his objective up that was near his deployment zone, so he wasn't able to pull it into his on his turn, and I won the game. But so we'll, as we get more practice with it, these test games will be a little bit easier. But there have been several times where we've noted some rules peculiarities, and there's going to be a much improved rules setup very soon. Just have to get them into the PDF and uploaded. So everybody who's playing Killzone out there, please be sure to send me your information, your playtest notes to Masters of the Forge at gmail.com. But that is basically all I've been up to, Sonore. I am exhausted. I actually have to do work for work this weekend. Like today, I have to actually boot up my work computer and do some work, which is annoying. I hate doing that when I'm not quote unquote on the clock. But the cool thing is I'm doing like this code sprint thing, which makes me feel like I'm actually doing something. Like we're making decisions for the entire state of New York when it comes to websites, and I get to be a part of that. So on one hand, yes, I'm working from home on a weekend. On the other hand, I actually feel like my job means something for the first time in a long time. So it's a little give and take there.
So, to every listener we have in the New York State, if anything at all in your life goes wrong, Adam Fasolt at us.gov. something. Send your complaints there.
Yeah, pretty much. Snorri, I'm looking at our show notes and I'm seeing all kinds of bullet points under your name. What's up with that, dog?
I had time to go to the club last weekend.
Woo!
Yes, indeed. My girlfriend was in Denmark for the weekend, so
she should go to Denmark more often.
I don't think she's going to Denmark, but yeah, thanks for the suggestion. So there's been quite a few new people at the club lately, new members, and I got the chance to play against two of them.
That's a good sign. It's always a good sign. We've had some new folks too. It's just growing that community, being friendly, being accepting, being patient. Those are all very important things.
Yeah, it is. And I got to play 2 games. I got to play my first game against Blood Angels, and I got a little bit defensive in my setup because I was going first. Mm-hmm. My opponent seized the initiative and just drop pods right into my deployment zone and bogs pretty much everything down completely. I think I lost the game something like 10 or 11 points to nothing. because I just couldn't.
Oh my
This was
god.
a maelstrom of war, so we were just running around, and I just couldn't get anything anywhere really.
Hmm.
So it was just a complete disaster for me. But it was fun. I've
Oh
never
yeah.
played Blood Angels before.
Getting dropped on with Blood Angels while you have kind of ponderous Death Guard. Yeah, that could be. Then trying to do Maelstrom is sounds like a nightmare, dude.
Yeah, it was, but it was fun.
Okay.
And we did actually have a really fun close combat. I think it lasted for something like 4 turns because I was just chewing my way through some Space Marines that came in a drop pod, and he reinforced them with more Space Marines, just like regular TAC Marines. So I think in the end, I killed something like 15 of his Space Marines before he killed my nine Plague Marines. So I think that was something a win for me, but points wise, Plague Marines are expensive, so it was a loss for me.
Well, that's too bad, but it does sound like it was an amicable game at least.
Yeah, there's something kind of sucky about having a Land Raider with Mephiston and Death Company in it. Just rolls up and just like, bleh.
Rarg, Mephiston. I
Yeah,
heard Dante is
he's a
really
beast.
nasty now too. My buddy, my brother-in-law is playing Dante now, and I guess the internet in general is playing Dante now, and Dante is a monster, I guess.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
This guy, he plays fluffy blood angels, so he doesn't really care what the meta is or what is good. He just like, yeah, I like this kind of list. I'm gonna play this.
Well, Dante does have golden nipples, so I would play him. I would play nothing but Sanguinary Guard just so I could paint golden nipples. But that's just me.
Yeah, you have something of a fetish. Yeah, my second game was against Tao, and we decided to do it as simple as possible, just like a straight up shootout. I should have won the game, and my opponent even agreed, but because I sort of lost my Helldrake in between a lot of Tau, not so much as it wasn't shot down. It was just like we were playing on the green board. I'm playing a Nurgle army, so of course my army is green, and his Tau are green.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was a lot of green.
So
I was
all
looking
your
over
models kept missing, right? Like you couldn't hit anything, right? Because of all the camouflage.
No, it was more like I had placed my Helldrake perfectly in the middle of a ton of Tau, and I was just going to flame through a building and just evaporate a bunch of Fire Warriors. And I'm looking over the table. Have I forgotten anything? Have I forgotten anything? I'm pretty sure there's something more I should do. It's like, no, I guess I can't see anything, so I'm pretty sure I've done everything. Okay, assault phase. And then in my opponent's movement phase, he just like, hey, did you fire your Helldrake? I was like, no!
Meow.
Yeah, so in the end, I just lost because the remaining volume of fire was just too much. If I had just remembered using my Hell Flamers, my Bale Flamers and all that, I probably should have killed a lot more. But
When did you
yeah.
notice that you didn't shoot the flamer?
His movement turn
Oh,
the next
his
turn.
move. Yeah. Normally, I'd say, "Nah, dog, go ahead and shoot it. It's no big deal." But but when you're like that far into it, it's a little hard to say that.
Yeah,
Like I would never want to win a game because my opponent forgot to do something when they clearly should have. But the next movement phase is kind of a long time. That's for sure.
yeah. And we did go a little bit back and forth. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You can just do that quickly before we move on if we forgot something. But that particular scene was like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit late now.
Well, here's the thing, Helldrakes are unpredictable and totally not completely under the control of the warlords. So, that's probably what happened. He probably had a glitch in the system. He was like, I don't feel like shooting my flamer at you. He's like, you have your color is green. I'm a little confused. Is that the enemy or my friends or my allies?
Yeah. I like that one. So, last bullet point on my not really long list of things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Yesterday, I went down to the post office and picked up my Chaos Warhound.
Woo! I just blew out the front of my pants. So did you post pictures of it? I saw you posted a picture of the certificate, but I haven't seen pictures of it yet.
Yeah, I sent you a private message with the certificate. I will be posting pictures as soon as this episode is up.
Excellent. That'll be awesome.
So let's just get this over with. Tim from the Brother Up North. Wow. Amazing job. It is so beautiful. The upper torso is supposed to be glued together, and there's a door and everything. And it's like, if you want to detail things, it's almost impossible to detail this thing if you glue everything in. So Tim puts magnets between the two halves of the upper torso, and then he actually adds strips of plastic card into the door frame. He files a groove on the door and puts pins in the door so that you put the two halves of the upper torso together using the magnets. Then you slip the door in with the pins to lock everything in place.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow. That is so thoughtful.
Yeah, my buddy John showed me that method where you can kind of use plasticard strips as kind of a slot to hold like panels and stuff together, and without having to resort to putting a million magnets into the hull of a vehicle. It's really good idea. It really reduces the number of holes you have to drill and the number of magnets you have to use. As long as there's some kind of resistance holding the plastic in place, you'll only need 1 or 2 magnets.
Yeah. And, well, there's magnets all over this thing. I can take the arms off. I can take the torso from the legs. The legs are screwed together using small screws. So it's like the hip joint has a thingy in it, and you just put the leg up to it. It's pinned so it holds a specific position. You just screw the screw in, everything's solid. Then you just carefully put the upper torso on, because that magnet is massively strong. It's actually so strong that the first time I put it on, there was like click, and the upper torso of the Warhound just tilted over a little bit. I was just like, my heart almost stopped beating for a second, and I was like, that's weird. And then I picked it up. I was like, oh, the magnet came off. There were a couple of loose magnets that just weren't glued in properly, so I fixed those. And also, one of the toes had broken in shipping. I was like, just took a few minutes of prep work and some glue, and everything is just solid now. Yeah,
something that big and heavy, it's almost impossible not to have any damage. I've been trying to find out from John, the fella who in Texas who I made the Titans for, how the shipping went with that, but he hasn't really responded. So I assume everything went fine. Well, actually, I assume something broke. Something had to have broken. In that, yeah. I did send them in 2 giant boxes full of peanuts and foam and bubble wrap and all manner of cushiony devices, but I'm sure something broke. Something had to have broken. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what, but it should anything like that should be easy to fix. Not a big deal. Christ, dude. So I guess that means he's gonna start building Carl's Reaver.
I think he's been doing that for a little while already. So maybe, because my Warhound has been ready for quite a while. It's just been taking a while for him to get it in a box and shipped. Right. Yeah, that took took a couple of months.
Yeah, safety and shipping is not a easy task.
Nope. But once again, Tim, wow. Thanks. I'm pretty sure I will send him requests for more building stuff later if I get the opportunity.
Awesome, dude. That's great. Well, I'm not sure what else we have. I guess
I think it's it.
Yeah, that is it. So we'll hear some messages from our quote unquote sponsors, and we'll start talking about Mantis Warriors.
Sponsors? I think we're
Friends,
called, yeah,
brothers in arms,
and sisters.
great promoters of this wonderful hobby who take their time to do nothing other than to improve the community. Yes.
There we go. Now I'm happy.
We'll be right back.
Interested in the offbeat world of 40K? Is your bits box full of 20-year-old space elves? Have you ever searched for something out of production 40K on eBay? Well, hold on to your zotes and head over to Corsair Radio. It covers the full scope of the hobby, homebrew rules, fluff, campaigns, oddball models, and more. From Terra to the Eye of Terror, visit us at corsairradio.blogspot.com. That's corsairradio.blogspot.com.
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40K club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't. The winds of the desert care not whose bones they scour clean. An Endymion proverb. During the time of the 8th founding in the 34th millennium, elements of the White Scars had become entrenched in the turmoil surrounding the Maelstrom, which is something the White Scars really don't like having happen to them.
Yeah.
They like to be on the move. They like to be constantly on the move. They're not built for garrison duty.
No.
So subsequently, the Mantis Legion, which is now called the Mantis Warriors, were formed as a successor and dedicated garrison against the many threats facing the Imperium from this pretty turbulent region of space. We'll talk more about that in a bit. First, let's kind of talk a little bit about the Mantis Warriors in general, like their combat doctrine and their gene seed and stuff.
So, the Mantis Warriors have a peculiarity when it comes to their gene seed, which is believed to have caused a fault in their preomnar organ, which is the second stomach that Space Marines are implanted with. Normally, it allows Space Marines to eat otherwise poisonous or completely indigestible materials and make good food of it. Mantis Warriors, their preomnar kind of secretes its own toxin. And, well, it's not like it's poisoning them. It's sort of like a time dilation drug, if you want. Because it makes the Mantis Warriors experience time quite differently. It sort of like slows everything down, so they feel that when they do normal movements, to us it's like lightning fast. And of course, being Space Marines, that really is fast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this also causes some of the Mantis Warriors to degenerate into a blind, single-minded killing machine of sorts. Sort of like the Black Rage. And this is a condition that, like the Black Rage, you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Once it hits you, you're dead. Or, effectively. They call this the Battle Haze, but, that's not really a very PR-friendly name. So, the Mantis Warriors put these warriors into a special unit that they call the Mantis Religiosa. So, yeah I guess they're considering it like they're extra fervent followers of the doctrines. Like,
they just get this crazy tunnel vision, and they're just like, here, go kill that. Just like very much like the Black Rage.
Yeah.
When it comes to combat doctrine, the Mantis Warriors really don't share the combat doctrine of their progenitor chapter. Showing once again that you don't necessarily, if you're running a successor, you don't necessarily have to use the progenitors chapter tactics. They kind of do share the White Scar's ferocity, although that's kind of tempered by a strange mysticism, kind of that almost that not quite Eastern, but when you think of a praying mantis, they've got this patient kind of wait for it kind of mentality, and then they pounce. And that's really what the Mantis Warriors do. They're masters of the ambush and the deadly alpha strike. They're capable of really merciless attacks, which kind of leave their foes gasping for their last breath before they even know an attack has occurred. So, it's kind of this perfection of guerrilla tactics and their ruthlessness, which actually makes them really excellent members of Death Watch kill teams, for example. There have been a lot of Mantis Warriors in the Death Watch, probably for this purpose.
But in a way, this Alpha Strike, lightning attack kind of doctrine is one of necessity. Because of their isolation from the greater Imperium, resources have always been at a minimum for the Mantis Warriors. They have very few armor assets, and the chapter often runs under strength. Every strike needs to count, and every loss must be justified. In order to fill the ranks with men displaying the right attitude and training for their combat doctrine, the Mantis Warriors have traditionally recruited from embattled populations in the Endymion cluster, just outside the borders of, but still within the influence of the Maelstrom.
And the Maelstrom is an enormous warp storm located in the dense galactic center region of the Ultima Segmentum. It spans thousands of star systems and touches the borders of many more. Really dwarfed as warp storms go, it's really only dwarfed by the Eye of Terror itself. The Maelstrom is quite different from the Eye of Terror in that it seems to be a naturally occurring phenomenon, regardless of its unlikely linear alignment between the center of the galaxy and Terra. The Maelstrom does have a tendency to wax and wane as the centuries pass, and the landmarks within its borders move without warning. The people attempting to chart the Maelstrom are often either lost, go mad, or the most lucky among them simply give up. Several times the Imperium has tried to pacify the madness within, dating even back to the Great Crusade. Failure has always been the outcome.
Yeah, it's nice to see that it's not just like warp storms or warp rifts aren't just something that's created by evil entities. It's just like something that is there.
Yeah, it's something that it's a natural part of how the multiverse is constructed. And I think it's like the warp has really only been perverted by those who use it. That is certainly a assumption on my part, but I think it to be true.
But the Maelstrom can be counted on to remain pretty much exactly where it is. Also, the nearby worlds are extremely rich in resources, such as rare minerals, isotopes, crystalline deposits, etc. For this reason, the region has constantly been under the threat of Xenos, pirates, and Chaos warbands since the earliest galactic records were transcribed. Although in recent millennia the Imperium has been able to hold a handful of bastions surrounding the Maelstrom, the dangers are never ending. At least 20 orc empires call the region home. Lucky you, Adam.
Yeah.
And countless human pirate outfits raid the erratic trade routes. The threats posed by Chaos are by far the most insidious and have caused irrevocable damage to many of the nearby Imperial forces, not the least of which has been the Mantis Warriors.
That's right. It's been really bad. Like, there have been several orc incursions, many chaos influences. It's not been a fun time. And the worst part about it is the Imperium has been rather hands-off. The Maelstrom has been increasingly active since the end of the 40th millennium, and one of the most deadly incursions before the Badab War was the hive world of Signax, The Mantis warriors attempted to thwart the destructive rampaging chaos threat posed by the nefarious warband called the Reborn and the burgeoning death cults on that world. Sadly, their sacrifices were in vain. The world was eventually broken by the suicidal actions of the world's death cults, who all but razed the planet's surface with atomic and plasma doomsday weapons. All life on the world was snuffed out in a day. The remaining Mantis warriors were pushed back and returned to their home in the Endymion cluster. Because of this event, the Administratum propped up an official vanguard of Space Marine chapters in the region to defend the Imperial assets against the horrors of the Maelstrom. These chapters were known collectively as the Maelstrom Wardens. The command was given to the Astral Claws.
We have a couple of side notes about death cults and the Reborn here. Death cults are groups within the Imperium that express their worship through the art and exploration of death, which is, of course, very productive. They believe that to fully serve the Imperial Creed is to give of one's flesh, and this is representative of the Emperor's own sacrifice at the end of the Horus Heresy and everyday sins. So it's, well, Dark Eldar, death or like killing and suicide, as long as there's death, then the Emperor must be happy.
Yeah, and there is a unit called the Death Cult Assassin in the fluff that and on the tabletop that you can play. Like, these people really just believe that giving life is one of the greatest gifts to the Emperor, and they kind of take that to extremes, and it's very easy to manipulate by chaos.
Then again, if you're a factory worker in the Imperium, you are being worked to death, just slower. So I guess it's just like they're speeding up the process. Then there's the Reborn. Not much is known about this Chaos Warband, but they are creatures of antiquity, using outmoded weapons and wearing rusted armor. So they've been around since the earliest of early times.
Yep, and they don't bother to upgrade their stuff. I think this would be a very interesting warband to expand upon and make your own. Like I've said before, I love the idea that there are these little tidbits of little nuggets of detail here and there throughout the 40K fluff that you can adopt for your own. These guys are ripe for developing your own lore.
And they do seem like a Chaos version of the Legion of the Damned.
Yeah, a little bit. Although we don't have time to go through the topic of the Bad War in detail, because especially since other podcasts have done so in the past. If you want to learn more about the Bad War, check out the Independent Characters episodes 16 and 21. They will give you all the information you need to know about the Bad War that doesn't have anything to do with the Mantis Warriors. Traditionally, the Maelstrom Warders have worked independently. So due to the increasing threats against the Imperium on multiple fronts, the Maelstrom Warders received very little support from the greater Imperium while they dealt with all the dangers the region had to offer. Clearly, the Mantis Warriors are a product of this reality. I think mainly it was Hive Fleet Behemoth and stuff that caused, in that kind of, that general region of the Ultima Segmentum, that kind of forced the hand of the Imperium to be distracted.
And over the centuries, the solitary nature of the Maelstrom Wardens increased. A complicated and unfortunate series of events spawned bitterness and selfishness among the ranks of the Maelstrom Wardens. Eventually, the chapter master of the Astral Claws, Luft Huron, declared himself the Tyrant of Badab, and he eventually declared independence from the Imperium, ultimately starting a civil war which would pit Battle Brother against Battle Brother. The Mantis Warriors loved their individuality and autonomy, so it wasn't difficult for Huron to convince them to side with him and the other secessionists.
Yep.
And
I mean,
this
it's
is
not
just
surprising, right?
Yeah, it is not really surprising at all. And also, it's kind of fun that my Loyalist chapter that I'm working on all the time, but never really finishing, the Firehawks, The Mantis Warriors and the Firehawks are the reason why the Badab War became a war, because the Mantis Warriors boarded one of the Firehawks ships, and, well, there was a small fight.
Yeah, so then by the end of the Badab War, that saw Huron and his men had escaped to the Maelstrom, while the Mantis Warriors refused to turn to chaos and instead remained behind to face the music. They knew they had been duped, and they still bear the shame of that. As warriors for whom every action matters and every decision must be carefully weighed, the decision to side with Huron was seen as a major misstep.
But the Imperium stayed its hand against the Mantis Warriors. While the tribunal of 5 chapter masters found all parties guilty, only the surviving Astral Claws in custody were executed. The Mantis Warriors were stripped of their domains in the Endymion cluster and forced to serve a century-long penitent crusade as atonement. Throughout the crusade, they would not be allowed to recruit new Astartes. With this choice, the Mantis Warriors could just say, it's like, yeah, no, we'll just stay here, and, well, they would accomplish nothing other than to just stay a chapter that sided with the wrong people, but they would still be what was left of their chapter. Or they could choose to go on this penitent crusade, suffer heavy casualties, possibly even extermination of the entire chapter, but they would clear their names, and in the eyes of the Imperium, would be like a chapter worthy of being taken back into the fold again.
Yeah.
Fortunately for the Mantis Warriors, they were used to preserving their resources, so they actually survived.
Yeah. And the Endymion cluster was basically given to the Firehawks at the end. Like, yeah, you now get the Endymion cluster, which I think it was kind of messed up at the end, but they were happy to get it anyways, because it had been so long since they had a homeworld, I think.
Yeah, Firehawks had 2 homeworlds, and they were both destroyed because of various things. And, well, after receiving this Endymion cluster, they're just like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna find another fight, and no one has ever heard from them again.
They landed their battle barge on this ice world and started building their fortress monastery from what's left of that. But anyways, very recently in 999 M41, which a lot of the action in 40k is set, at the very cusp of the end times, or in the end times themselves, the world of Herodian 4 was under attack from a Tyranid splinter fleet. The Mantis Warriors found themselves within range and so came to their aid. I'm sure at this point the Mantis Warriors take every opportunity to come to the aid of every Imperial asset in trouble in order to make good on their crusade. Although they did manage to evacuate almost 300,000 citizens, their second company suffered massive casualties when defending a station held by the Adeptus Mechanicus. So when a Deathwatch team and Inquisitorial fleet arrived, those forces acknowledged the chapter's courage and selflessness and declared that they should be allowed to begin recruiting again. Now, it's interesting to note they did not, of course, end the crusade. That makes sense. They still should atone for their loss, for their actions, but kind of bring them back into the Emperor's light and saying, yes, you deserve to replenish after so selflessly giving almost an entire company and acting for the good of the Empire. That is up to the minute coverage of the Mantis Warriors. These guys are pretty cool, Snorri. I really like their flavor, and I think it would make them a fun chapter to tell stories about on your tabletop. And I think we're going to talk about that after some messages.
Yes, we are. Take it away, Wendy.
Dallas Fort Worth Nerd Night is a community organization that throws tabletop gaming parties for charity. We believe tabletop gamers are uniquely qualified to build better local communities because of the types of relationships built while gaming. If you'd like to learn more about how you can play games and help people with DFW Nerd Night, check out www.dfwnn.org. That's www.dfwnn.org. Thanks.
Now it's time for the On Your Tabletop section involving the Mantis Warriors. We've got rules that already exist for the Mantis Warriors, which are great, and they can be found in the Bad Ab War books, but those books are a little out of date.
Oh yeah, they're back in the 5th
Right.
edition, kind of late.
Yeah, they're a great resource, that's for sure. Like, those books are awesome, right?
Yeah, total gold mine if you want to do your own Space Marine chapter.
Right, but I wouldn't doubt that they're going to be getting the Vrax treatment soon, and you should probably wait unless you can get a really good deal on the book.
Yeah, and if you want to get the crunch for these Mantis Warriors, you can just go to Forge World and download both the Space Marine Chapter Tactics version 2 document that is up there. That document was made because in 6th edition, every single chapter got special chapter tactics. With all the different chapters that have been written about by Forge World over the years, not a lot of them actually use their progenitor chapter tactics, so this was one of those documents that really had to be written. And it's great because it has all their Space Marine chapters. And the other one we're going to cover is the Chief Librarian, Ahazareth, and you can find his rules in the Space Marine Badab Characters document, also free from Forge World.
No, these are kind of hard to find right now. You have to scroll to the bottom of the page and click downloads, I think it is. And that's where they are. There's no main menu item for these. So let's see. The first thing is the chapter tactics.
Yep.
The first half of their chapter tactics is Shadow Killers. Infantry models in this detachment gain the Move Through Cover and Hammer of Wrath special rules. In addition, on any turn in which they declare a charge from within a terrain feature that grants a cover save, not including any terrain piece purchased as a fortification, because those are obvious, that's where the enemy is going to come from. They gain the Furious Charge special rule. Note that units which contain models with any variant of the bulky special rule do not benefit from this special rule.
Yeah, and that really is to just show that if these guys have set up in a forest and they charge out of that forest, they get the benefit of surprise, and that means they get the +1 strength on the charge.
Yep. And I would say, there's a little, I guess there could be some argument here as to, like, if you're standing on top of a hill that doesn't provide cover if you're on it, I would say you should probably not demand a cover save. But if you're behind it and then move around and come around or come over from behind it on your turn, then I'd go for it. Get that bonus, because they kind of didn't see you coming.
The second part of their chapter tactic is called Children of Prophecy. A force whose primary detachment has chapter tactics Mantis Warriors may reroll failed attempts to seize the initiative where this is a factor in the mission being played. In addition, any Mantis Warriors Librarian may generate psychic powers from the Divination discipline instead of the disciplines listed in Codex Space Marines if the controlling player chooses.
Right, so the way I read that is they may only take from Divination if they do that, because it kind of locks out the other ones, kind of making that Mantis Warrior kind of a seer or like prognosticator for the Mantis Warriors. That Battle Brother is devoted to that one school of that one psychic school.
Yeah. And it really does say that, because any Mantis Warrior Librarian may generate psychic powers from the Divination discipline instead of the disciplines listed. So it's like you have to take divination or the ones listed in the codex.
Right. I would still say you're allowed to take force though, because force.
Of course, but force doesn't. Yeah, force doesn't have a discipline.
you're
Force
right.
just is.
Yep, it is.
As we mentioned previously, there's also a special character, the Chief Librarian Ahaza Redth, also known as the Dust Prophet.
So Ahaza Redth was the de facto chapter master of the Mantis Warriors during the majority of the Bad Ab War. And he disappeared during the final battle on Tranquility 2. But his body was never found, so he might still be out there somewhere, either with the Mantis Warriors or might have escaped to the Maelstrom with the Corsairs. You never know. But you'd probably just use these rules for your own special librarian if you want to. It doesn't actually have to be Azra Redth,
Nope. So, as a librarian, he's pretty average.
Yeah.
He's got weapon skill 5, so he's a little bit better there. But what's really interesting about him is that he has a talisman that gives him a 5+ invulnerable save, and he also has a special psychic power called Mirage.
Mirage is cool.
Yeah. Mirage is a Warp Charge 1 psychic power, and it is as follows. Mirage is a blessing that targets the Psyker as well as any unit he has joined or vehicle in which he is being transported. Any models charging the target of this power while it is in effect count as making a disordered charge. However, if the charged unit was already locked in combat from a previous turn or has gone to ground, the power has no effect, and the attackers gain bonus attacks as normal. In addition, all models protected by this power gain the Shrouded special rule.
Yeah, real cool. I like that power, and I would say that any Mantis Warrior should be able to take that, really, right? Except for the divination guy. I don't know.
I feel that this one is really special,
Right.
so I don't think I would like to anyone else to have it.
Right.
It seems like a personal thing for him.
Okay. So Azra Redth also has a specific warlord trait. Instead of rolling for one, he has a special one called Whispers on the Wind. Any unit Azra Redth joins gains the Interceptor and Night Vision special rule while he is a part of it. So that's really cool. They're ready for any attack and they can see through.
Yeah, I would. Well, as the name suggests, you might actually be thinking about that they actually hear where where this comes from.
Yep. Normally, there's rules here that allows you to take a honor guard for him because he is the de facto chapter master. But honor guard don't exist anymore, so I guess you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. There's also a rule that says that if you have a Hazra Red as an HQ in your army, then you have to make him the warlord. But if you choose to use this as a special librarian, not necessarily a Hazra, I wouldn't really mind if you had another warlord.
Right. Those are the rules for Mantis Warriors as they stand in actual Games Workshop and Forge World publications. We've got some additional rules you may want to use that further bring the lore to life on the tabletop. You may want to try them out.
The first one affects Mantis Warriors assault squads. Instead of taking jump packs, each model in the Mantis Warrior assault squad may take a sniper rifle for 3 points per model and a camo cloak for another 2 points per model.
That's right. So I got the idea here is that Mantis Warriors do use sniper rifles quite a bit, and I would assume that that isn't just scouts, right? So this and they still love their ambush attacks. So
yeah,
I imagine these Mantis Warriors being kind of these are like commandos of the chapter. They lie in wait and use their sniper rifles, but they can also ambush from cover and bust out with their close combat weapon and pistol, which assault marines tend to wield. The next one is Mantis Religiosa. So these are the guys who are kind of fallen to that battle haze. Any infantry unit with the Mantis Warriors chapter tactics may, at list creation, replace their chapter tactics with Rage and Furious Charge. So they are just bonkers, pushing forward, murdering dudes. You can add it to any unit type. You just put them forward and rawr.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe there should be something of a limit of how many you can make into the Mantis Religiosa, as in like 1 in 3 tactics or the tactical squads or something.
D3. No, that doesn't. No, that doesn't make any sense because you do it at list creation. Any one.
Yeah, maybe. Because it's still sort of like the Death Company of the Blood Angels. So, well, you can have multiple, I guess, but I was like, if it becomes too powerful, then you will only take those, and then it would sort of take away from what the Mantis Warriors are about. They're not like crazed, bloodthirsty weirdos. They're actually Space Marines with a couple of guys that went bad.
You know what? What I think we should do? It's how about for each Mantis Warriors detachment in your army, any one infantry unit with the Mantis Warriors chapter tactics can become a Mantis Religiosa. I think that's a good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, teamwork. Team Ramrod, go.
And the last one that we came up with is called Masters of Ambush. Any force which is comprised completely of detachments and formations with the Adeptus Astartes Mantis Warriors faction, or along with no faction, such as fortifications, may select Master of Ambush as a warlord trait instead of rolling.
And I think that kind of completes the Mantis Warriors combat doctrine. I'm actually quite surprised that kind of wasn't included in their rules, but maybe it just didn't occur to them to do it for 6th edition. So, so I think that kind of rounds it out very nicely.
Yeah.
So Snorre, speaking of on the tabletop, the Mantis Warriors are a very, very striking scheme, aren't they?
Yeah, I really like that green armor with the yellow shoulder pads. It's a beautiful color combination.
Yeah, it's one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion, complementary combo that there is. There's a reason why John Deere Tractors uses it for their color scheme. I've always loved it, and Mantis Warriors are kind of the John Deere chapter. But
I think we just killed Mantis Warriors once and for all.
But they're really nice. It's a nice scheme, right? But that yellow can be a bear, especially when it's a kind of an accent color. If it's a base color, it's kind of easy if you think about, like, I'm just going to airbrush this, right? But as an accent color, you actually have to worry about getting it on as a second panel or detail, right?
Yeah, but these guys, I think you can actually have a pretty easy way of doing that yellow, because their armor is green and their shoulder pads are yellow. They have a bit of a yellow accent on the beak of their helmets, but you can just cheat and not do the yellow on the helmet, and just
that's such a
make
small
sure
part,
that
right? Like a little piece is not that bad when it comes to smoothness, because it's hard to tell if such a small part isn't all that smooth.
Yeah, and the shoulder pads, well, paint them with an airbrush, for example, and pop them on after you've painted the rest of the model.
Right.
Because that way you can have the ease of doing yellow with an airbrush, if you can do that, and you don't have to really worry about the 60,000 layers of yellow to get it smooth.
Yeah, definitely. And this is one of those things where you'll have to, like, clip them off and then kind of blue tack them to some sprue or something. Take it from me, trying to airbrush little pieces without tacking them to something is a giant pain. They go flying everywhere.
Yep. And, well, if you want to do first company of Mantis Warriors and you want to do the helmets yellow just to give that, first company kind of feel, just glue the head on afterwards. Same thing.
Same deal. Yeah. These are good tips, Snorri. I also want to if you're going to do the green, do it. Don't be bashful about getting a proper bright green in there. Some of the bad ab pictures, the color plates kind of shift away from the bright green. I think that the best Mantis Warriors are the bright green and the bright yellow. They give zero damns about what they look like. I think that those look the best. I think they look really nice. A nice, rich, bright, solid green is what you want with the Mantis Warriors, in my opinion. I mean, other people have their own opinions. Like Orc Flesh, for example, is a similar argument. I like mine bright and pop. I like it to pop. Others prefer a muted and more grungy look, which it's all a matter of taste.
Yeah, same thing for my Firehawks. I'm going for like a really rich orange with those because it pops on the table.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think they look cool. So when you're bringing Mantis Warriors to the club, or if you're doing a Mantis Warriors narrative, I think both of those things have slightly different list needs, I guess. When you're making your lists, one of the things that just pops in my mind is scout squads. The number of scout squads you have is going to vary greatly depending on which era you're talking about. If you're talking about anything during or before the Bad Ab War, or actually anything before their reinstatement by the Inquisition in 999, I don't think you're going to see a lot of scout squads. They're starved for resources at one point, and then at another point they're flat out denied the ability to have any kind of new warriors. So you're not going to see scouts at all. What you will do is you go ahead and use the special rules we came up with for assault squads, and their sniper rifles if you want to use them for that purpose. But I don't think you'll see a lot of scouts.
No, I'm pretty sure that these guys will put them into power armor and put them into use as fast as they possibly can, just to keep their numbers up.
Mm-hmm. And not a whole lot of armor either. I wouldn't expect to see very many predators or vindicators or land raiders at all, really.
Nope.
No, and however, they do actually have quite a few things like Thunderhawks in order to get them rapidly into battle. They're very careful about protecting their transport assets. Well, usually very careful. There's one point where they actually bury a bunch of their starships so that they can surprise the Dark Eldar. They actually bury their spaceships in the sand so that they can surprise it. They can ambush Dark Eldar starships.
That is pretty crazy.
Right, they're so cool. Some of those battles you should check them out.
Yeah,
they're really fun.
I was also thinking that the whole Cryhammer Annihilation formation.
Oh yeah,
that's probably also great for those guys. Drop pods, just assault marines.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Yeah, I think that formational would really they actually are very adherent to the Codex Astartes, especially now after the during the Crusade. To cleanse their name, they want to definitely talk the talk and walk the walk. So when you're building your list, be sure to give proper representation to adherence to the Codex Astartes. know all bike lists and stuff like that. I would stick with Tactical Marines, Assault Marines, Devastators, get a nice mix in there.
Yep. So,
But man, well, geez,
campaign ideas maybe.
Campaign ideas. Well, I mean, you can do the Bad Ab War, but again, I think I'd wait for the new book to come out before actually doing the Bad Ab War. They've had several campaigns against the orcs, but I think anything involving the Red Corsairs is a win. You know, they could be assaulting. They could be trying to cleanse some of the worlds near the Maelstrom. If Huron Blackheart pops his head out anytime, I think the Mantis Warriors need to be there. They actually have entire units devoted to the cleansing of their name, and they fight against chaos any chance they get. So I think that's if in these end times of the Imperium, Huron, makes his presence known, I think that's going to be their narrative.
Yeah.
Now, I think any game involving that kind of situation, any kind of extra victory points for destroying chaos units, or especially Huron himself, those should be taken into account when building your scenarios. Those will be key to the Mantis Warriors, regardless of their own losses. So, that the victory points you might run asymmetrical missions where the Mantis Warriors get their victory points for killing chaos units, where the chaos side would probably just be like objectives or something like that. So I think that would be a very interesting way to go, like with chaos trying to gain resources while all the Mantis Warriors care about is killing the heretics.
Yeah, that made me think a little bit about one of the Chaos Space Marine missions from the Altar War book, where you have Chaos is looting resources and the Imperium is the opponent is trying to deny them these resources. And you can just, instead of denying, you can just have an extermination order on the Chaos player.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun and a good culmination. I mean, I guess unless you have any other ideas, I think that wraps up our On the Tabletop segment for the Mantis Warriors.
Yeah, I think we have covered the Mantis Warriors pretty well.
Yeah, if anybody wants to share their awesome Mantis Warriors models, please post them to our Facebook page. We loved it. Like, we both love this scheme, and so does Jason, who's editing this as we speak. Thank you, Jason, for editing the show again. He's thinking about starting Mantis Warriors as well. So this is a good episode. So stick around for some more messages, and we'll be back to close out the show.
Transmission incoming from the Adeptus Terra podcast. A new monthly UK-based 40K podcast has come into the universe, based around the hobby as a whole and the rich background of the 41st millennium. If you're looking for a fun, chilled-out podcast focusing on the fluff of the 41st millennium with tricks and tips on taking part in the hobby, then why not give us a listen? You can find us on iTunes and Facebook as the Adeptus Terra podcast. You never know, you might just like it. Message ends.
That concludes another episode of The Masters of the Forge, episode 35 to be exact.
Yeah.
We have like a proper bulk of episodes now.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like a podcast that's actually doing something. After a year and something, then we finally have some episodes under our belt.
Yeah, we've really hit our stride. I do feel like it would be nice if we could have another voice on the podcast, but I also think there's no way I would want to do like an outreach program.
No,
I don't think I think we found that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that the best way to do this is just we need to find someone in our own local community that really serves the purpose, because then we're fairly sure that we're gonna find some mentally balanced people.
Well, at least, yeah. Well, mentally balanced is a little strong of a requirement, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with our heads and yours.
Oh man! All right, so our snorting. Oh man! So outro. Dirty Goblin tournament this Saturday. That's where I'm going to go.
This Saturday being
this Saturday after this releases this Saturday.
So we're talking Saturday the 22nd of August.
That's right, Snorri. Thank you for being very specific. Well, I guess that would matter if they listen to it like after the 22nd of August. So I'm probably going to bring my Necrons, 1,500 points. I have no idea what missions they're going to be using, but the Necrons need to make an appearance. Some of those guys up there were like, dude, I told everybody, you know, a lot of them are kind of excited about my Demonkin, but they're not going to be painted, and I'm not going to show up to a tournament with unpainted models. And plus, the Necrons deserve a nice outing. They're going to get their butt whooped, but they deserve a delightful little outing.
So you're saying that your rainbow Pooncrons aren't pooning?
Yeah, they are not going to. They're not. Nothing about them is poning anybody unless it's a terrible, terrible list. After that, we've got a prep tournament for the Council of Five Nations. The prep tournament is Saturday, September 19th. The Council of Five Nations itself is October 2nd through the 4th. You can find information on the actual tournament at www.swa-gaming.org/council. You can rewind that to get that again. We're really hoping to get a lot of people pre-registered, a lot of people sending me their lists, and get a big number of people. We're going to be buying terrain, and I kind of hope to turn this into a GT after a time. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have one day of 4 games and like a long 4-game day. And then after that, depending on where you are in the standings and what your preferences are for the second day of the tournament, you can choose to do combat patrol if you want. And that will be a separate tournament with separate results. So if you're not in the running for the championship, you know, the crown of the tournament, you can actually just do the combat patrol instead and try for that one.
I think that is actually a really nice way to do it, because instead of just having to play games the second day and knowing that there's no point other than playing games for the sake of playing games, instead you can just have your own mini tournament with a lot more of a friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really funny is that the guy running the miniatures portion, he's like, oh, but are you? I mean, that would be people playing Warhammer 40K for 2 days. Don't you think that people are going to want to do something else, try out some of the other stuff? And my buddy John and I were like, not really. Nobody's no offense, but these are 40K players we're talking about. A lot of them really don't care about other games. So they want nothing more than to just play 40K for 2 days straight, especially if they're paying an event fee plus the tournament fee, you know? They're going to want to get as much 40K in as they're going to want to get their money's worth, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, what else is going on? I'm still selling my sisters. I'm not selling them as one group anymore. I'm selling them in units. So feel free to hop on over to the IC's forum and check out the listing of all the units I'm selling. I have some Dominion squads with Melta and and stuff that I still have to sell. So please go over there and help fund my trip to
Yes, Adon, you have
England.
been a very bad Adon. Start buying Adam's stuff, Adon.
Oh, he did.
He did.
He bought some.
Nice.
Yes, he did.
He needs to buy more.
Yeah.
Actually, he's going to England himself, so he shouldn't buy too much because then he's going to be in trouble.
So thanks to those who have bought some already. I've funded some of my Demonkin stuff, but now it's time to put all the rest of it into the trip. But that's pretty much. Congratulations to the independent characters on their final episode.
Yes.
Yay.
5 years and a couple of months.
They did a great job. What a wonderful legacy they've left, and the community itself is still going strong. Still have the Facebook page up. Carl's still going to put out some videos, and the independent characters forum just got a facelift. So everyone's committed to continuing that community. It's just not attached to a podcast anymore. It's attached. The community is itself.
Yeah.
It stands strong on its own.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to do it because just killing off everything that had to do with independent characters except for the YouTube channel, that would have been kind of harsh. So just keeping this hangout, if you want, on the net, it's brilliant. And it means also that Carl can do his own stuff and still be active in maintaining that community without just completely killing him time-wise.
Yeah, and it's a great group of people that we've collected. They're very like-minded mofos. They're very cool, very fun-oriented people who are very supportive and very creative. So if you're interested, head on over to the Independent Characters forums. Make yourself known in the welcome thread and plop your location on the player map and the player locator. Join the discussion, join the community, join the Hobby Progress Challenge, which is going very strong. That's about all I have to say, Snorri.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add except to once again thank you, Tim, for an amazing build job on my Chaos Warhound. Now I just need Ola to paint it for me, and we're going to see some action very soon because we're having a Apocalypse game in September. So that's going to be glorious.
Well, I'm sure people can see the progress of that game on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will set up multiple cameras to take pictures and maybe some video, and we're going to do this as an interesting format because there's going to be one dedicated game master. There's going to be one general per side that is actually dealing with overall tactics or what we are supposed to achieve that turn. And we all do whatever we can to achieve those goals on the table. We're setting up on Friday. We're having a couple of rounds on Saturday and a couple of rounds on Sunday. So this is going to be one of those takes forever kind of apocalypse games that really do take a whole weekend. But it's going to be glorious. We're going to field so many 100,000 points. I have no idea.
No, you know what? That's a great way to do it. The last time we had a successful apocalypse game, my buddy John was kind of the game master, and he set up a general on each side to give out orders. And that really helps get the game moving along. It's okay to have your opinions, which is fine. You want to play your army the way you want to play it, right? But at the same time, it's nice to just get an objective and not have to discuss it. And a lot of the time, the orders that are given, as long as you choose the right general, the orders that are given are going to be kind of the obvious anyways. and instead of having a conversation about it and everybody just ending up agreeing at the end, you just do it, and that's really helpful.
Yeah.
He actually, I think, even said he had them write it on a piece of paper and hand it out, like they were secret orders and stuff like that. Or we just talked about doing that. Either way, it's a fun way to do it.
Yeah. So hopefully this is, I think, the third weekend of September. Hopefully I will have Renegade Baneblade on the table, and my Warhound will be there, my Death Guard will be there. I don't think I will have much in terms of actual Renegade forces there, but I'll see if I can get something big on the table, because, just playing some kind of combined arms detachment chaos force isn't really exciting, because you get bombed off the table and you don't really have any good excuse to come back. So, with that, I think we're ready to say that, please visit our blog at mastersoftheforge.com.
And please go ahead and check out Twitter, Masters of Forge.
You can find Masters of the Forge on Facebook. Like it.
We already talked about that. Derp. That was a segue, dude. Segue.
Huh?
That's why I was like, I'm sure you'll be posting that progress on Facebook. You ignored that that was such a masterful segue that you didn't even notice.
Yeah, it was. It was so stealthy. So Mantis-like.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that was Facebook. And, where else?
I'm not sure where else.
iTunes.
Oh, yeah, iTunes. We love iTunes reviews. They're so cool. And you'd be a really keen person if you were to give us a really sweet iTunes review. I'm just saying, you'd be my friend if you did that.
Or,
saying.
Okay, that's your choice. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. If you find Masters of the Forge somewhere on the internet and it looks like it could be us, feel free to give us some positive feedback, or, thumbs up or likes or follows or something, because it helps expose us to the rest of the world so that other people can find us.
I like exposing myself to the world.
Okay, I think that's a topic for another podcast.
Yes. Or my Facebook page. Do you like my Facebook page, Snorri?
You've been so busy, I've actually considered just putting you on mute for a couple of days, just because it was like, yeah, okay, so this person has a birthday, and then there's 16 different updates from Adam, and then there's one from this aircraft group that I'm following, and then there's another 15 from Adam. I was like, wow, you've been busy lately. Then again, you installed a pool, you have a couple of dogs, you have your dorks, and, you have a lot to post about, apparently.
Me.
Yes.
Me. All right. I think we need to put this show out of its misery.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for, I'm not sure what the topic will be, but until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Sorry.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Podod of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
Did I say Star Trek Attack Wing yet? No, I didn't. I just did. Boom. There's a fly coming around my face. Get away.
Star Trek Attack Wing. Actually, it's not Star Trek, it's a fly.
Ugh. Alright. Mantis. Warrior. Something. Alright.
Yeah.
An Endy Mon and then edit point. Endymion, Endymion.
Endymion.